Hey everyone, welcome back to OK Storytales. This is episode 5 of our story. So if you haven't seen the previous episodes, I highly recommend you watch those first to really understand what's going on. Okay, so where were we? I was 15 years old. After everything that happened, after leaving my parents' house with just a small bag in my hand, I found myself standing on the doorstep of my aunt and grandmother. They opened their door, and in that moment, they opened their hearts to me. I had a new place to stay. The first few days were strange. I kept waiting for a call, for a message, for anything. Days turned into weeks, and my phone remained silent. My parents never called. They never asked where I was. They never asked if I was okay, and I have to tell you that's silence. It was deafening. It hurt more than any loud argument or angry word ever could. It was a silence that screamed, "You don't matter." I spent so many nights just sitting by the window, staring at my phone, feeling a profound sense of emptiness. The quiet tears I shed in my new room were for the family I had lost, for the love I thought I had. One evening, I was feeling particularly low, just lost in my sad thoughts, missing my mom and dad, wondering what I did so wrong. My aunt came and sat next to me. She didn't say much at first, just held my hand. Her touch was so warm, so reassuring. Then she looked at me and said something that would change my entire perspective. She said, "People come and go in our lives. Some leave even when we want them to stay. Some leave after hurting us deeply. But in the end, we must learn to stand strong on our own." Those words hit me hard. It was like a switch flipped inside my head. From that day on, I started to see things differently. This wasn't just my aunt's house anymore, it was my home, my true home. My aunt became my mentor, my confidant. She was the one I could talk to about anything, without fear of judgment. She listened to my dreams, my fears, my silly teenage worries. She believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. She saw a potential in me that I had never recognized. Her encouragement was the gentle push I needed to start looking forward instead of back. And my grandmother, she was my rock. She didn't talk much, but her presence was a constant source of comfort. Her love wasn't spoken in words, but it was felt in every meal she cooked for me, in the way she gently pat my head in her quiet, knowing smile. Her silence was filled with an unconditional love that healed parts of me I didn't even know were broken. And then there was Rocky, my beautiful white Pomeranian. He wasn't a little puppy anymore. He had grown up with me through my childhood. He was like a fluffy walking cloud, with fur as soft as cotton, and a spirit as bright as snow. Rocky had moved with me to my new home, and he was my constant loyal companion. Every single evening, no matter what, Rocky and I had a routine. We'd go to the park just as the sun was beginning to set. I'd throw a ball, and he'd chase after it with all his might, his little legs moving so fast, his tail wagging furiously. Watching him, so full of pure, simple joy, I would laugh. A real, genuine, from the belly laugh. It was a sound I hadn't heard from myself in a very long time. Those moments in the park with Rocky. Those were the good days. The days when the heavy weight on my chest finally started to feel light. I could breathe again. With this newfound sense of peace and support, I poured all my energy into my studies. I was determined to build a future for myself. I studied late into the night, fueled by a desire to prove not to others, but to myself, that I could succeed. And I did. I excelled in school, and soon time flew by. Before I knew it, I was 18 years old and starting college. But just as things were looking up, life reminded me that nothing stays the same forever. Time had been kind to me, but it was catching up with Rocky. He grew old. His energetic runs in the park turned into slow, deliberate walks. The bright spark in his eyes began to dim, replaced by a tired, gentle gaze. He was still my Rocky, but he was getting weaker. I think, in his own way, he understood something that I couldn't bear to face. He didn't want me to see him at his weakest. He didn't want me to watch him fade away. One evening while I was studying, Rocky quietly slipped out of the house. He just walked away. The next morning, I woke up and called his name, expecting to see him wagging his tail by his bed. But the house was silent. His spot was empty. A cold feeling of panic washed over me. I searched everywhere. I ran through the house, calling his name. I ran to the park, our special place, my voice getting hoarse from shouting, "Rocky!" I ran through every street in the neighborhood, my heart pounding with every step, hoping to see his familiar white fur around the next corner. But Rocky never came back. The realization that he was gone for good was crushing. I collapsed on my bed and just cried. I cried for my loyal friend, for the unconditional love he gave me, for the joy he brought back into my life when I needed it most. As I was sobbing, my aunt came and sat beside me just like she had all those years ago. She held my hand, her grip firm and steady. And she repeated the words that had become my mantra. People come and go in our lives. Some leave even when we want them to stay. Some leave after hurting us deeply. But in the end, we must learn to stand strong on our own. Hearing those words again, in that moment of fresh grief, felt different. It was a painful, but powerful reminder. I cried for days, and through it all, my aunt and grandmother were there. They didn't try to stop my tears or tell me to get over it. They just sat with me, sharing my silence, offering their unwavering support. Their presence was a lifeline. Slowly, very slowly, the storm of grief began to pass. And in the quiet aftermath, I made a promise to myself. It was a promise born from all the pain and all the love I had experienced. I promised myself that no matter who leaves, no matter how much it hurts, I will never, ever give up on myself. This house, this family, this experience, it was more than just a new home. It was a new beginning. It was the crucible that forged my strength, my resilience. And this promise I made to myself, this was the very first step toward building the life I knew I deserved. Thank you so much for watching and for being a part of this journey. Make sure to subscribe to AK Storytales so you don't miss what happens next. See you in the next episode.